Did you know that nearly 50% of marriages in the US end in divorce? And that number is only rising. But here's the question: why? What's really happening behind closed doors? Are we just not cut out for marriage anymore? Or is something deeper going on? You might think you know the reasons: money problems, cheating, maybe even growing apart. But the truth is, the reasons why so many marriages fail are more complex than we realize. Some of these reasons might shock you. What if I told you that one of the biggest factors in divorce is something as simple as unrealistic expectations or the way we handle communication? It's not always the big, obvious issues that cause couples to break apart. It's often the things we don't see coming, the small cracks that turn into giant chasms. But it gets even more surprising. Some of the reasons for divorce go way beyond the usual answers. What about the stress of being parents? Or the dangerous effects of emotional abuse that no one talks about? The truth is, so many people don't even realize how these issues can quietly destroy their marriage until it's too late. In this video, we're diving deep into 10 surprising reasons why so many marriages are falling apart and what you can do to avoid them. Stick around because you might just discover something you've never heard before. Number 1. Unrealistic expectations. One of the most overlooked yet powerful reasons behind rising divorce rates is the role of unrealistic expectations in marriage. So many of us grow up with a fairy tale idea of love, a picture of happily ever after where everything magically falls into place once we find the one. But this unrealistic portrayal often sets couples up for failure before they even say, "I do." In reality, marriage is hard work. It's not just about the romantic moments, the spontaneous trips, or the picture-perfect life. It's about compromise, sacrifice, and the daily grind of making a relationship last. Yet, so many couples enter marriage with the belief that it should be easy, filled with constant passion, and free from conflicts. When these expectations aren't met, disappointment quickly creeps in, and frustration follows. Studies show that people with unrealistic expectations tend to be more dissatisfied in their marriages. For instance, many expect their spouse to meet all their emotional, social, and even financial needs, which is not only unfair but impossible. No one person can provide everything for another. This is where things start to unravel. Relationships require teamwork, communication, and effort from both sides. If one person expects their partner to be perfect or fulfill every single need, resentment builds up, and that's when cracks begin to appear. Another factor is the pressure to live up to the social media version of love. We constantly see those picture-perfect posts, couples on vacations, celebrating anniversaries, looking happy and flawless. But remember, social media is often a curated highlight reel, not real life. Expecting your relationship to mirror this unrealistic standard can set the stage for disappointment and dissatisfaction. So, what can you do? Before jumping into marriage, it's essential to have open conversations with your partner about what each of you expects. Set realistic goals and acknowledge that not every day will be perfect, but with the right mindset and effort, your marriage can thrive despite the challenges. Number 2. Financial stress. It's no secret that money problems are a major source of stress in relationships, but did you know that financial issues are one of the leading causes of divorce in America? In fact, studies show that couples who argue about money are significantly more likely to end their marriages. Why? Because financial stress doesn't just affect your bank account, it affects your emotions, communication, and even your mental health. When couples struggle with finances, whether it's mounting debt, an unstable income, or differing spending habits, the tension can escalate quickly. Financial strain leads to stress, and stress often leads to conflict. You might find yourself arguing over everyday decisions, or worse, avoiding each other entirely because the thought of discussing money feels like too much to handle. The lack of communication about finances can cause emotional walls to build up, and what started as an argument about money can turn into a much bigger issue. But that's not all. Financial stress can also put enormous pressure on a couple's future. If one person is more of a saver and the other is a spender, it can lead to constant clashes. Each partner has a different idea of what's financially responsible, and when those ideas don't align, it can create resentment. Imagine one person feeling guilty about spending money while the other feels like they can't enjoy life without spending freely. This friction only grows over time, and the stress doesn't stop there. Job loss, unexpected medical bills, or just trying to make ends meet in a high cost of living area can make even the strongest relationship feel like it's on the brink. According to research, couples who don't have a plan to manage their finances are far more likely to face separation or divorce than those who work together as a team. So, what's the solution? Open, honest conversations about money are critical. Set a budget together, establish long-term financial goals, and seek professional advice if needed. Being on the same page financially can ease a lot of tension, and ultimately, it can help keep your relationship strong and your marriage intact. Number 3, lack of communication. One of the most common and destructive issues in relationships today is a lack of communication. You might think that the biggest challenges in marriage are things like infidelity or money problems, but in reality, communication breakdowns are often at the root of many other issues. When couples stop talking, or worse, stop listening to each other, the relationship begins to unravel. At the core of every healthy relationship is the ability to talk openly and honestly about your feelings, needs, and concerns. But many couples fall into the trap of assuming that their partner should know what they're thinking or feeling without needing to say it out loud. The truth is, no one can read your mind. Expecting your spouse to just understand your emotional state or your desires without communication can lead to frustration and resentment. The problem is that when communication fades, small issues go unnoticed and unresolved. Misunderstandings snowball, and what might have been a minor disagreement turns into an argument, or worse, emotional distance. It's easy to get caught up in the busyness of life, work, kids, household responsibilities, and forget to prioritize meaningful conversations. But avoiding hard talks or letting feelings fester in silence only makes things worse over time. Research shows that couples who don't engage in open and honest conversations are much more likely to experience feelings of disconnection. When partners feel like they're not being heard, they start to emotionally withdraw, leading to even less communication. This cycle can lead to a feeling of alienation, where the two people who are supposed to be closest to each other become strangers. So, how can you fix this? Start by making time for each other. Even in busy schedules, carve out moments for meaningful conversations. Listen actively without interrupting, and express yourself clearly without assuming your partner knows what's on your mind. It's not about always agreeing, but about understanding each other's perspective and ensuring that communication remains strong and healthy throughout the relationship. Number 4, infidelity. Infidelity is one of the most painful and heartbreaking reasons that lead to divorce. When a partner betrays the trust of their spouse, the damage can be deep and lasting. In many cases, infidelity completely shatters the foundation of the relationship, making it nearly impossible to recover. But why does it happen? And why is it such a common cause of marital breakdowns? For many, the idea of cheating may seem like an absolute deal breaker. Yet studies show that emotional or physical infidelity occurs in a surprisingly high number of marriages. The reasons behind cheating are complex, and they often stem from deep-rooted issues within the relationship. One partner may feel emotionally neglected, unappreciated, or disconnected from their spouse, seeking out affection or validation elsewhere. Others may cheat because of temptation or the desire to experience the excitement of a new relationship. However, the bottom line is that infidelity represents a failure of trust, and once trust is broken, it's extremely difficult to rebuild. Another factor is the increasing ease of emotional affairs, where one partner may not physically cheat, but develops an emotional bond with someone outside the marriage. Emotional infidelity can often be just as damaging as physical infidelity, because it involves an emotional betrayal that feels like a deep breach of intimacy. Many people in these situations feel disconnected from their spouse and become emotionally invested in someone else, believing they are finding the attention and understanding that's missing at home. How can couples prevent this? The key is to keep the lines of communication open. Address emotional needs early on, prioritize each other's happiness, and make time to nurture the relationship. Trust is the cornerstone of any successful marriage, and once it's broken, it requires a lot of work to rebuild it. Couples counseling or therapy can be a helpful step for couples trying to heal after infidelity, as it helps both partners understand what went wrong and how they can rebuild trust and intimacy moving forward. Number 5, growing apart. Over time, couples often find themselves growing apart, Not because they want to, but because life has a way of changing us. When you first meet someone, everything feels fresh, exciting, and new. You're in sync with each other's interests, dreams, and goals. But as time passes, individual growth becomes inevitable. The question is, are you growing together or drifting apart? As we age, our personal values, interests, and ambitions can evolve, and sometimes those changes aren't aligned with our partner's growth. This natural progression can create emotional distance, where the bond that once felt so strong starts to weaken. This shift might be subtle at first. Maybe you no longer enjoy the same hobbies, or your life goals start to diverge. But over time, the difference becomes more pronounced, leading to feelings of disconnection and even loneliness. When couples don't make an effort to reconnect or adapt to these changes, the relationship can start to feel like a routine rather than a partnership. As people become more focused on their individual paths, the intimacy and emotional closeness that once defined the relationship can slip away. Lack of shared experiences or the failure to acknowledge each other's evolving needs can gradually build an invisible wall between partners. So, how can you avoid growing apart? The key is to keep growing together. It's important to continually nurture your connection, whether by exploring new activities together, supporting each other's personal growth, or simply taking the time to talk about your evolving dreams and desires. Regularly checking in with each other and adjusting to life's changes will help ensure that your marriage stays as strong as it was when you first started. We put a lot of effort into making these videos, so if you found this information helpful, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe to our channel with just one click. We promise it's worth it for more insightful content like this. Number 6. Pressure of parenthood. Becoming parents is one of life's most rewarding experiences, but it also brings immense pressure. The pressure of parenthood is often underestimated when it comes to its impact on marriages. In fact, many couples report that the arrival of children is a turning point in their relationship, where challenges and stressors begin to outweigh the joy. Parenthood demands a lot from both partners. It's exhausting, overwhelming, and sometimes downright frustrating. The constant juggling of sleep deprivation, work obligations, and the demands of a growing family can strain even the strongest marriages. Suddenly, it's no longer about just the two of you. The focus shifts to the children, and for many couples, the romantic connection that once defined the relationship takes a back seat. This shift can leave both partners feeling neglected, emotionally drained, and disconnected from one another. The challenge often comes from the imbalance of responsibilities. One partner may feel like they're doing more in terms of childcare, leading to resentment. The other might struggle with balancing work and home life, leaving them feeling isolated or unsupported. These frustrations can lead to arguments, misunderstandings, and eventually feelings of emotional exhaustion. Without open communication and mutual support, it becomes easy to feel like you're no longer on the same team. Additionally, the pressure to be perfect parents can weigh heavily on a relationship. Societal expectations about parenting, whether it's about how to raise your children or how to manage a household, can lead to unnecessary tension between couples. The fear of failing as parents or not meeting societal standards can add another layer of stress to an already demanding role. So, how can couples cope with the pressure of parenthood? Teamwork is crucial. It's important to have conversations about expectations, share responsibilities, and make time for each other, even if it's just for a few moments each day. Prioritize your relationship and don't let the responsibilities of parenthood consume you entirely. By supporting each other and remaining a united front, you can navigate the challenges of parenting together without losing the foundation of your marriage. Number 7. Emotional and physical abuse. Emotional and physical abuse are often hidden causes behind divorce, yet they are among the most destructive forces in a relationship. Abuse doesn't always show up in the form of physical violence. It can be just as damaging when it's emotional or psychological. Unfortunately, these forms of abuse are far too common, and they often go unnoticed until the damage has already been done. Physical abuse is the most obvious form, but it doesn't just refer to outright violence like hitting or slapping. It can also include things like shoving, grabbing, or any form of intimidation that instills fear. In abusive relationships, the cycle of violence can make it incredibly difficult for the victim to leave, because the abuser often manipulates the situation, making the victim feel isolated or even responsible for the abuse. The impact on the victim's mental and emotional health can be profound, leaving them feeling trapped, powerless, and worthless. On the other hand, emotional abuse is much harder to recognize, but it can be just as devastating. Emotional abuse involves a constant pattern of behavior that undermines a person's sense of self-worth and can take many forms: belittling, controlling behavior, threats, manipulation, and constant criticism. The scars from emotional abuse can be invisible, but the damage is deep, often causing anxiety, depression, and feelings of hopelessness. What's particularly concerning is that many victims of emotional or physical abuse don't realize they're in an abusive relationship until it's too late. They may feel isolated from family and friends, or they may have been gaslit into believing that the abuse is their fault. The effects of abuse often spill over into other aspects of life, leading to the breakdown of the relationship itself. So, what should you do if you're in an abusive relationship? The most important step is to recognize the signs of abuse and seek help. Therapy, counseling, or talking to a trusted friend or family member can help you find a way out. Safety should always come first, and you deserve a relationship where respect and love are the foundation. Number 8. Different life goals. One of the less obvious yet powerful reasons for divorce is when couples have different life goals. It's easy to assume that a relationship can withstand anything as long as there's love, but love alone isn't always enough to keep a marriage intact. Over time, if two people's paths diverge significantly, the gap can become unbridgeable, even if they still care for each other deeply. People change, and their goals often change too. At the beginning of a relationship, partners might share similar dreams about their future: career ambitions, travel plans, family aspirations, or lifestyle preferences. However, as the years pass, individual dreams may evolve. One partner might decide they want to pursue a career abroad, while the other prefers a stable home life close to family. One might dream of having children, while the other is content without them. These differences can lead to growing resentment, especially if one partner feels their aspirations are being sacrificed for the sake of the relationship. The issue with different life goals isn't necessarily the goals themselves, but rather the lack of alignment between those goals. If both partners don't acknowledge or respect each other's long-term dreams, the relationship can feel like an uphill battle. Compromise becomes harder to achieve, and disappointment grows as one partner feels left behind or unfulfilled. Studies show that when couples don't talk about their long-term goals early on or make an effort to stay aligned, the chances of divorce significantly increase. Differences in life goals can feel overwhelming, but they don't have to be a death sentence for the relationship. So, how can couples navigate this challenge? Honest conversations are key. Early in the relationship and periodically throughout, it's essential to check in with each other about your goals and where you see your lives heading. If your goals don't align, find common ground where possible, or be prepared to make difficult decisions. Respecting each other's individuality and dreams is the foundation of any successful partnership. Number 9. Lack of intimacy. Intimacy is one of the most crucial components of a healthy marriage. When you think of intimacy, the first thing that might come to mind is physical closeness, but it goes far beyond that. Emotional intimacy, the sense of being deeply understood and connected to your partner, is just as important. Without this intimacy, a marriage can feel distant, cold, and ultimately empty. And when this lack of intimacy persists over time, it can contribute to divorce. When couples first get together, the connection is often electric. There's excitement, passion, and a strong emotional bond. However, as time goes on, many relationships begin to lose that initial spark. Daily responsibilities, stress, and the routine of life can wear down the emotional and physical closeness that once existed. Intimacy doesn't just happen on its own, it requires effort, attention, and understanding from both partners. A lack of intimacy can manifest in different ways. Physical intimacy, such as regular affection, kissing, and sex, can decrease if couples stop making time for each other, or if one partner feels neglected. Meanwhile, emotional intimacy can fade if there's a lack of meaningful conversations, active listening, or emotional support. As these small disconnects grow over time, both partners may start to feel more like roommates than lovers. Research shows that couples who don't regularly nurture their emotional and physical connection are more likely to experience dissatisfaction in their marriage. Intimacy is the glue that keeps a relationship strong. Without it, partners can feel isolated and may seek emotional or physical closeness elsewhere, which can lead to infidelity or deeper emotional detachment. To restore intimacy in a marriage, make time for each other, not just for tasks or responsibilities, but for connecting on a deeper level. Whether it's a regular date night, long conversations about your day, or simply holding hands, creating opportunities to bond emotionally and physically can help rekindle the intimacy that has faded. Intimacy requires intentional effort and is essential for a lasting, healthy relationship. Number 10. Unresolved conflict. One of the most dangerous issues in a marriage is unresolved conflict. It might seem like a minor problem at first, an argument that doesn't get fully addressed or a small issue that's brushed under the rug. But over time, these unresolved conflicts build up like pressure in a dam, and eventually the dam breaks. When couples don't take the time to address their issues, the relationship can deteriorate from the inside out. Conflict is a natural part of any relationship. No two people will ever agree on everything, and disagreements are bound to happen. But it's how a couple handles those disagreements that determines the health of their marriage. When issues are ignored or swept under the rug, both partners can begin to feel resentment and frustration. The more the conflict is avoided, the harder it becomes to resolve, and the further apart the couple drifts. Ignoring conflict can also lead to emotional withdrawal. When one partner feels like their concerns are consistently dismissed or ignored, they may stop expressing their feelings altogether. This can create a deep sense of disconnection, where the couple no longer feels emotionally bonded. Over time, this emotional gap only widens, making it even harder to work through problems. What's worse is that unresolved conflict can lead to increased stress in other areas of life. When tensions run high in a marriage, it can affect both partners' mental health, their physical health, and even their work and social lives. The constant state of unresolved tension becomes exhausting, and soon it can feel like there's no way out. So, how can couples overcome this? The key is communication. It's important to address issues early and approach conflict with an open mind and a willingness to listen. Couples who regularly engage in healthy conflict resolution practices, whether through open discussion, compromise, or professional therapy, are far more likely to stay together in the long term. Conflict doesn't have to destroy a marriage, but ignoring it certainly can. We've covered 10 tough, real reasons why so many marriages end in divorce. From unrealistic expectations to unresolved conflict, each of these issues can deeply affect a relationship if not addressed with care, attention, and love. If you're facing any of these challenges in your own marriage, just know that you're not alone. Many couples struggle with these same issues. The key is recognizing them early and putting in the work to strengthen your bond. Relationships take constant effort, commitment, and understanding. And while these challenges can feel overwhelming at times, it's important to remember that change is always possible if both partners are willing to put in the effort. It's never too late to start building a stronger, healthier relationship. Creating videos like this one takes a lot of time, research, and dedication. We pour our hearts into these topics because we want to make a difference in your life. If you found value in today's video, I ask you to please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. We put everything we have into creating content that can help you navigate the ups and downs of relationships. Just one click is all it takes to stay connected and get the support you deserve. Your support means the world to us and helps us continue making videos that matter. Thank you for being part of our community, and don't forget to comment below with your thoughts or experiences. We love hearing from you.